As an athlete, I had a lot of medial knee pain. So when I would go into a cut, I would feel a twinge in my knee. I might feel some pain underneath my foot. I have a lot of tightness in my hip flexors. And what I discovered is that I had a lot of this excessive pronation during the loading phase of my game. And so how do you prevent that? A lot of people talk about, well, if you have this excessive pronation, we need to support this arch. That makes sense. If you're able to support the rear foot and you put this pressure here, the rear foot stays supported and you'll generally stay in better alignment. But this was having limited success. While wearing custom orthotics did help my knee and foot feel better, I still felt as though something was missing. And so I got a assessment done by a physical therapist who told me that when I was standing, my rear foot was everted. But this was something that I already knew, is that, you're standing in a pronate position, that medial arch is lower and lengthened. What I didn't understand is that from a non-weight bearing position, putting the ankle in this neutral position, my forefoot was extremely inverted. So it's difficult to see from this angle, but if we're going to place the athlete lying face down on the table, we put their ankle into a neutral position, we're going to look straight down through this heel, and we're going to look as a reference point at this lower leg using the Achilles, and we're going to see what's the angle of this forefoot in relation to this Achilles. And so if the forefoot is inverted, we would take that measurement of use the Achilles, use a 90 degree, and let's say this is 10 degrees inverted versus this would be everted. And so what I found is that standing everted, let's say 10 degrees, would have a correlation with the forefoot being inverted in a non-weight bearing alignment. So why does this happen? So let's say you have this excessive pronation gait where over and over you're pressing this forefoot up into an inverted position. So over time, the soft tissue is going to adapt and you're going to almost form this foot to stick into this position. And so this fascia, everything here will get really tight and you'll stay in this position. And so when you get this assessment of what's your non-weight bearing forefoot alignment, you might measure at, let's say, 10 degrees inverted. And when I had this measurement, it just shifted my whole mindset about how does the foot and ankle function, because I was always focused on how do we support the rear foot. But I was saying, okay, if this foot, let's use tripod as an example, has one short leg, of course it's always going to want to sit in this position. And so the previous research done said, forefoot varus is extremely common. Varus meaning forefoot is inverted. Up to 87% are rotated in this direction. Well, what's the different segments of this? Is 87% 6 degrees inverted? And so we broke it down into 0 to 3 degrees, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, 10 plus. And on the other end, people who are everted, 1 to 3 degrees, 4 to 6 degrees, etc. And so there's a general correlation line between standing everted and then the forefoot being inverted. The other thing that we found was that if you're standing over 10 degrees everted, it became very challenging to find a subtalar neutral. And very oftentimes this rear foot almost stayed everted while they were in a non-weight bearing position. So you'd take the foot off the ground, let's say for somebody who is standing 6 degrees everted, you'd take the foot off the ground and their rear foot would be very neutral and the forefoot might be 4 to 6 degrees inverted. But for this person who is standing 10 degrees everted, you would take the foot and ankle off the ground and it would almost be stuck in this position with this rear foot everted, and it would be more challenging to find this subtalar neutral position. So what level of compensations are happening for different standing postures and different actions? This was our research, and we'll show you some of the data as well.